Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Metro. Good morning, Facebook friends and family. Our title today, Visioning Beyond the Horizon, the spiritual exploration of boundless possibilities. Hopefully, I was tantalizing enough to get you thinking, what is he going to say? What are we going to talk about? Let me start by, if I ask you about your childhood, what you wanted to be, do you remember? Do you remember what you wanted to be as a child? Astronaut, police officer, fireman, teacher, pilot, something else maybe. And then later in life, when you were older and able to understand more things and responsibilities, consequences than you had learned, had been educated in school, did you dream differently? Did you think about, did you see yourself doing something else? And then think about where you are today. Like, what are you doing today related to those other earlier visions of yourself? Um, I am not doing what I did as thought I was going to be doing as a child, and I had to think about that a little bit. Like, do I remember distinctly what I wanted to do as a child? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty clear that it had to do with either being a chef or an architect because I did like cooking and food, and I also liked drawing buildings and rooms and things, but not necessarily people or animals. Um, However, I'm neither an architect nor a master chef today, but I do love architecture and I do love cooking and I like eating well. So it doesn't mean that we have to do that in order to fulfill our dreams. Getting into that though, is there anything today that you wish you did or were doing now? And then why not start? And there could be several reasons for that, why we aren't starting doing something that we wish we had done. And it goes back to our fast-paced daily material world. It's very easy to become absorbed in the immediate and tangible. There's things, pressing deadlines, things that are happening. Certainly with technology, this thing takes up a lot of time and it demands our attention. If we're not very careful, it can demand too much of our time and attention. And unfortunately, we tend to focus, as adults, we tend to focus on directly what's in front of us. Goals, deadlines, tasks, things that need to be completed. Uh, but there exists a deeper, more profound way to engage with life, a way that transcends the limitations of the physical world and invites us into the realm of the spiritual. And this is through visioning. And what is visioning? Well, we'll get to that. But visioning beyond the horizon is not just about seeing beyond the literal or the known. Think about it more about expanding our consciousness to embrace infinite possibilities that lie beyond our current understanding and perception. If we explore it from a spiritual perspective, looking beyond the horizon of the material world into the realm of the unseen, the unknown, the divine, God. The horizon as a metaphor. Let's talk about that. In spiritual thought, the horizon often symbolizes the boundary between known and unknown, finite and infinite. It is the edge of our current awareness, the point where what we can see and comprehend ends. Yet if you think about it, the horizon is never truly fixed. That's an illusion. As we move forward, it's constantly shifting. Uh, and I was thinking, recall a time that you've been in a car, a plane, a vehicle, maybe a train or something, and you're looking outward forward and you're looking towards the horizon. You think, okay, it's not that far, it's a few hours, whatever. And then it keeps moving. Once you get to that next place, it keeps moving. I lived in Texas for a number of years, and I'm originally from Arizona, and I lived in California for a number of years. And I did the drive from Texas to California a number of times. And I will say the drive from Dallas to the border of Texas and New Mexico is the longest, most boring drive you have ever experienced on Highway 10. There is nothing. There is nothing. And it feels like the horizon just continues and you're hoping for a truck stop or something or another vehicle. But in any case, I digress. So you get the idea. But that's the idea that horizon is constantly moving. And it's more of a concept for us to think about this thing out there rather than it actually being something out there, because it is always moving. Uh, and of course, on the spiritual level, even the spiritual horizon that we have, as we grow, expand, awaken to a greater understanding of life, God, spirit, ourselves, and how this interrelates, then suddenly that horizon has also expanded because the bubble has expanded. And then the new is beyond that, even. So the horizon is a metaphor for the limits we place upon ourselves, representing the edges of our own understanding, the threshold we perceive like perhaps as obstacles to spiritual growth. And just as the horizon recedes as we move toward it, so too do our limitations shift as we develop this understanding of who we are beyond body and ego, our spiritual tools to understand who we are in this thing called life. So it's not something to be feared, but perhaps a place that we could call a place to explore with courage and faith. Courage and faith. So how do we do this? What's the goal, if there is one? And these are good questions for inquiry. What would be the goal here? Why would we want to do that? Visioning is a spiritual practice. To vision beyond the horizon is to engage in an active spiritual practice requiring us to open our hearts and minds to the possibilities beyond our current reality. Visioning is a sacred act, a conscious attempt to see with the eyes of the soul, perceiving what is hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. And there are many spiritual traditions that have something like visioning or seeing beyond the physical, and it's considered an essential part of that journey, that spiritual tradition and journey toward enlightenment. Whatever we want to call enlightenment. Let's call enlightenment or define it more of a greater relationship connection with our higher self, with God. It involves transcending the limitation of the ego and stepping into a place of infinite potential, where we connect with the divine source of all creation. Let me mention this, we are all here, all one of us, where we truly understand this one, capital O and E. Yeah. So, in the practice of visioning, we enter into a deep space of meditation or contemplation where the boundaries of the self start to dissolve. And this practice allows us to then tap into subtle, higher frequencies of consciousness and access divine wisdom, which then transcend perhaps linear space and time. And through visioning, we align ourselves with spiritual realms, seeing not only the potential for our lives, but also the interconnectedness of all beings. We can here, and mentioned access our higher self, that part of the field of this unlimited potentiality where we can relate to it. Because if you think of the entirety of the potential of unlimited potential of all things, God, it's mind-blowing. It's impossible for us to get perhaps our minds around the idea of the size of the universe when we start to see these posts, whatever else, which shows the size of us and then planet Earth, and then zooms out the sun and the solar system, and then our, whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you start to do that, you start to see how small perhaps we are in relationship to the greater what we know of our known universe, the physical universe. And then they start talking about multiple multiverses or different experiences, planes of experiences of existence. And then we start to kind of go, oh, so let us not worry about that. Let us focus on what we do know and remember that our connection with our higher self, that's a solid, easy to access connection. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but that's something that we can access all the time, immediately. One of the things that Reverend Jackie said as we started is with vision, you can start all over again. Yeah, that's true. And as Libby read just not that long ago, vision with action can change the world, from Nelson Mandela. She had two other parts of it before that, but that was the kind of the tagline I picked up here. Vision with action can change the world. So there you go. So it's not only visioning, but then putting it into action. Visioning with action can change your life. How's that? There's a quote here I'd like to share from Thomas Troward. God will provide the food, but he will not cook the dinner. I like that. So let's continue. The role of faith in visioning. Faith plays an essential role in the process of visioning beyond the horizon. It is faith that allows us to believe in the unseen, the intangible, and the unknown. And without faith, vision just becomes mere fantasy. It's with faith that it becomes a powerful spiritual tool. Faith is the bridge that the gap bridges the gap between infinite and finite, and human and divine. And I can use that word here because we are in a spiritual center. So I know that you have some level of faith if you're coming here to be part of this celebration. So, spiritual traditions around the world emphasize the importance of faith as a means of transcending the limitation of the physical world. For example, in Christianity, the Bible speaks about having faith as a mustard seed, which has the power to move mountains. You've all heard that before. Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Hinduism, faith is the foundation for inner peace, enlightenment, and the realization of the true self. So it doesn't really matter which faith we come from. It's more that we understand faith tradition, I should say. The fact is that faith is an important aspect of this journey for us. It is an important aspect of our spiritual toolbox. I have another quote for you rather. We must rid the mind of any sense of struggle, for if we plant the seeds, the soil will do all the work for us. The seed is the word, and the soil is creative mind. We cannot grow the flower. God blooms the rose. And that's from Fenwick Holmes, his book Being and Becoming, 1883. You'll probably know him related to Ernest. There you go. So when we engage in visioning beyond the horizon, we are trusting in something greater than our own understanding. We are acknowledging the existence of a higher power and surrendering to the flow of divine guidance. Faith, in this sense, is not blind belief. It is a deep trust that the universe is unfolding as it should, that the desires and visions we hold are in alignment with a higher purpose. Faith is a confident attitude of mind. It is to feel assured that our word will become flesh, that our own thought will register in creative mind and take on a body. And that's also from Fenwick Holmes in the book How to Develop Faith That Heals, 1919. Let's talk about the power of intuition, because we all get intuitive hits now and again. And unfortunately, I would say that a lot of us ignore them rather than listen to them. So what about intuition? While visioning offers deliberate effort and often involves deliberate effort, it is equally a practice of surrendering to the wisdom that resides within us. Intuition, the inner knowing that transcends the intellect, plays a pivotal role in this work here. It's through intuition that we can see beyond the horizon of the material world and into the realm of the spiritual world. That we have that knowingness that this is the right path or this is not the right path. We get a hit, and we need to listen a little bit more deeply to that. Another quote for you. We have, according to modern discovery, marvelous powers, even miracle powers, in the depth of mind and soul, and they are there to be used. We can use them, however, only as we deepen our thoughts, raise our consciousness, and go farther into the spirit, or as we would to go to God and place our lives in the life of the Supreme. That's from Christian D. Larson, Leave It to God, a book from 1940. Some of these books are quite old, but there's a lot of wisdom in here, and the wisdom hasn't changed. And we see that even if you look back at biblical lessons, that there's a lot of wisdom that's around a long time, and it is available to us. So just pick up a book and you will find pearls of wisdom. Intuition is often described as a still, small inner voice that speaks to us in moments of quiet reflection or meditation. The inner guide that comes from a place of deep wisdom, not influenced by the noise and distractions of the external world. So when we trust our intuition, we are able to align with our higher self, the individual and the higher self, and receive divine insights that illuminate our path. In the act of visioning beyond the horizon, our intuition serves as a compass, guiding us towards greater awareness and understanding. It is through intuitive insight that we're able to perceive new possibilities, solutions to challenges, and answers to the questions that arise in our lives. When we quiet the mind and listen closely to our inner voice, we connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe. So we need to, I've heard it said before, I don't remember where it came from, but we have two of these and one of these. So we should be doing this more often than this. Yeah. So when we do this and we listen also with the inner ears and the inner wisdom, then we start to hear more of what the universe is trying to tell us all the time. You probably heard this before. God is speaking to us all the time. It's whether we're choosing to listen or not, but God is speaking to us all the time. Yes. Your prayer will not be an asking or seeking for anything. It will be an asking and a seeking and a knocking for more light, greater spiritual wisdom, greater discernment. Joel Goldsmith, The Art of Spiritual Healing, quote from him. So overcoming fear and doubt, because we might have this vision, but we have fear and doubt that's blocking us. That may be the horizon, right? So as we strive to vision beyond the horizon, fear and doubt inevitably arise. They could be the horizon. They could be blockages or hindrances along the way toward the horizon. The unknown can be intimidating. It is human nature to resist what we feel unfamiliar or certain. Many of us, not all of us, but many of us are very comfortable in our comfort zone and don't want to change that. Some of us are amazing creatures of habit, and you probably know people, you may know this or recognize this trait in yourself, or creatures of habit, you do the same thing, and if something is mixed up, then suddenly it could be a crisis that day. Just as a side note, I used to intentionally do this when I was in college, because in other classes in school before that, you always had an assigned seat. You couldn't do anything. But in college, I used to intentionally go and move myself around in the auditorium where the professor, partly because I just wanted a different viewpoint to get a sense for what the instructor was saying, but I also did it kind of see how the other students would react. I wasn't studying psychology, it was business, but I liked doing that because I, get a little bit of reaction, because that person who'd been sitting there all semester suddenly came in the last week, I'm sitting in their chair. And part of that is to mix it up a little bit and, knock people out of their comfort zone, including myself. So another quote for you: belief in limitation is the one and only thing that causes limitation. So belief in limitation is the one and only thing that causes limitation. That's from Thomas Troward. Something to kind of note down. So if whatever we believe in becomes real for us, yeah? So if we believe in, then let's look at the opposite. If we believe in unlimited potential, then that perhaps can become our reality. Yeah. In many spiritual traditions and teachings, fear is understood as an illusion, an obstacle that appears real but is not grounded in truth. The same thing in our spiritual practice, religious science. We say that there is only one power, one presence, and that is God. There's no two powers, there's only one power. God is good, God is all. Omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. God, yeah. So we pull ourselves back to that truth, that faith that we have in what those words that we speak, that is what we know to be true. It is the projection of the ego then, which thrives on control and uncertainty. So our ego is getting in the mix here. And to overcome fear, we must learn to step beyond the ego and trust in the divine flow of life. When we embrace the unknown with an open heart, we transcend the limitations that fear places on us and step into the limitless potential of our higher consciousness. Sounds pretty good, yeah? Doubt, too, is part of our spiritual journey, doubt. Yeah. And it can serve as a reminder to examine our beliefs and strengthen our trust in the process of visioning. However, through self-reflection, prayer, meditation, we can address the roots of doubt and shift our perception whether it's actually something that's coming from intuition or it's just some doubt that's coming from mind rather than being actually a spiritual guide for us. And thus have a greater sense of trust and surrender into this vision for our lives. Living in alignment with the vision. So once we've engaged in visioning beyond the horizon, it's essential to integrate the vision into our daily lives. Otherwise, as Libby had mentioned in that Nelson Mandela quote, visioning without action doesn't result in anything. So this integration involving aligning our thoughts, actions, and energy with the greater truth that we have uncovered. It's to live in alignment with our spiritual vision, and that means trust the process, follow the guidance we receive, and remain open to the unfolding of the divine plan. As a sidebar here, I remember I have had the pleasure of teaching a 6-week course that I put together called Visioning for Your Life. And I've done that several times now, and it's a lot of fun. And the reason I did it over 6 weeks, I mean, partly it's because that's kind of how the material is set up, but I also liked it because you could build up over time so people got used to it. And I will say as a sidebar, I can remember at least 1 or 2 students, week 1, we have just now visioned for the first time ever in our lives, some of them, not me, but some of them. And after the process, they have received this clear insight of what they need to do. And they're like, okay, I don't need to come back next week because I'm complete. I'm like, actually, you're not, but all right, it's your choice, whatever you want to do, but go for it. And I do caution them as part of this process that the vision, spiritual vision that we have will be so big that you will not be able to interpret, absorb, or get your head around the whole thing of it in one sitting, or even in its entirety. Because think about it, again, the vision of God itself is so great that we just take a piece, step at a time, day by day, moment by moment. And so when someone says, "Oh, I've got it. I got it all figured out in my life. I'm going to divorce my husband and to move to Cincinnati," and like, kind of, where did this come from? It's like, maybe you actually want to do a little more work on this first. However, but if we say that, "Oh, this is being called to me in this direction. What's this about?" That's where we're being called. It should be so big and scary that we get a little bit nervous, and that's when we step into faith. That then we say, "Okay, faith of God, I trust, I have faith that I'm being divinely guided in the right direction. I'm not sure where I'm going, and this is a good thing because it's not certain for me yet." As another sidebar, one of the things I mentioned in the class is like these little things, cell phones, right? I mentioned just like your cell phone, you have a bunch of applications running. First, we need to shut down a bunch of applications that are unnecessary for what we're going to be doing so that we can focus on what we need to do, namely meditation and then visioning. And so we take a moment to get ourselves still. We're going to do that together in a moment. But once we've shut down the other applications that aren't relevant right now, and we get ourselves into a place where we're working with only what we need to, minimal resources. The other thing we need to do is delete a lot of stuff from this, perhaps in this case, the phone, that we don't need this unnecessarily right now. Because in this vision, as we download the vision for our life, my life, they're downloading for your life, in this moment, you can only download so much. The capacity to be able to understand that, see it, feel it, hear it, is only so much in this moment. So we receive what we can, and that's why we do it again and again. So it's a repetitive process. It's not a one-time deal. If this is something, could even be daily. I know Reverend Trish does this daily. Wakes up in the morning and she says, "How am I being called to serve today? Let me be guided." And that's exactly what we can be doing in our lives. So whether I'm going to do a plug now. So you can vision monthly with CSL Metro on Mondays, the first Monday at 12. And then there's, of course, other classes and stuff that you can take or talk to a practitioner. So I'm going to leave one more quote, and then I'm going to take you on a little journey here. This is our purpose, to live the purest, the largest, the fairest, the most useful, the most beautiful, the most spiritual life possible, just for today. To be our very best here and now, with no desire to outshine some other being, but simply to be all that we are in divine being now. And that's from Christian D. Larson, The Pathway of Roses. Okay, so let us go on a short journey. We have a little bit of time, so I just invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, exhale, relax. Libby brought you to your center earlier, so I invite you to come back to your spiritual center, your heart center. I invite you to take your hands and place them over your heart as you breathe. And together, we're just going to do a short heart coherence meditation here. So as you inhale, imagine energy moving from the floor in through your feet, your legs up to your heart. You can, if you like, you can say to yourself, inhaling love. And as you exhale, imagine this energy just radiating out from your heart center all around you, through your entire body to the room around you, exhaling love. And we'll just do this together a few times, inhaling and exhaling. You may even feel this energy flowing into your body and flowing out again. You may even see in your spiritual eye, your mind's eye, your body starting to glow and become radiant and bright and light. And just keeping your eyes closed, go ahead and place your hands back down on your lap. And so I'm going to read a few questions to you. And just allow yourself to listen. Know that in this place, you are safe, you are loved, you are protected. You are safe, you are loved, you are protected. This is your inner sanctuary. So just asking yourself, what is God's highest idea for my life? What is God's highest idea for my life? How is Spirit calling to me? How am I being guided? How is Spirit calling to me? How am I being guided? How can I share my gifts, skills, and talents today on planet Earth? How can I share my skills, gifts, and talents? What is my part to create a world that works for all? What is my part today to create a world that works for all? What can I release that no longer serves me? What can I release that no longer serves me? And what new belief can I embrace? What new belief can I embrace today? And just knowing that you may be thinking things, hearing things, seeing things, feeling things, and all of it's just good. Part of this touching the vision for our lives. If you like, you can bring your hands together in front of your heart and just taking a moment to give thanks. Thank you, God. Thank you, life. Excited to be part of something that is even greater than our individual selves, this collective self, this collective one. And just gently releasing your hands, opening your eyes again as we conclude. That was a short intro to visioning. So come join CSL Metro on the first Monday of the month, 12 o'clock noon, for a full visioning session where you can actually have time to write down and discuss. But let's talk about a few other ways that we can live our vision in our life. And perhaps you might think of visionary thinking, the capacity to see possibilities that others cannot yet imagine, seeking pathways to a future, a different way of being, using foresight and anticipation, long-term thinking, creativity and innovation. So there's lots of ways that we can approach using visioning in our life, not only individually, but also collectively for planet Earth. This opportunity to talk today about visioning for beyond the horizon. And what it invites us to look at is looking beyond the limitations of our current understanding and step into infinite possibilities of the spiritual realm that are always available to us, always, all the time. God is always all around us, in, through, and as us. We are always part of this one. So we are always available. All this infinite possibility is available to us all the time. So through visioning, faith, intuition, and the overcoming of fear and doubt, we open ourselves to a deeper connectedness with the divine. As we journey beyond the horizon of the material world and the spiritual world, perhaps, we come to realization that the true horizon is not a fixed point, but it's an opportunity to push the boundaries beyond what we know, what we feel comfortable with, what we believe and understand. It's a place waiting for our exploration. Should be exciting. By embracing this vision, we not only transform our own lives, but we also contribute to the collective awakening of humanity. We help to create a world that works for all. It's a place that we expand into. And beyond the horizon lies a vast universe of spiritual tools and truths waiting to be discovered. Let us unlock this door and find the amazing gifts that are available to all of us. So through faith, join me in prayer as we just simply say that there is one power, one presence, one life. And I know that this one is everywhere present, fully. This one I call God, perfect, whole, and complete. I am one, unified with this one life, this one love, this one joy, this one vision. As I know this for myself, I know this for everyone hearing these words, that in fact, everyone on this planet, everything on this planet, everything in creation, known and unknown, seen and unseen, is part of this one. And so I speak this word for us, knowing that the truth is that God is everywhere present fully all the time. Beyond the seen and unseen, this place, this field of pure potentiality, this is God. This is available to us in this moment. As I know and claim the highest and best for each and every one of us. Love, light, joy, truth, peace, prosperity, abundance, health, vitality, freedom, compassion, kindness, understanding. More than enough for each and every one of us. And as we enter into this place, this sacred communion with our higher self, with the one, we raise our vibration and thus the vibration of the planet. And we remind others, those around us, to do the same. I give thanks for the opportunity to speak these words that have been brought by our teachers and their teachers, and are available to our students to be shared and learned and known and embraced. I give thanks for each and every one of you being part of this today. And so I release this word into the law, knowing that it is already done, that this word returns to us complete in this moment. Please join with me in saying, and so it is. Thank you.